Hello, here's some of my old records. I spent years DJing on 2 turntables and a mixer and collecting vinyl. Vinyl was the culture that I lived in. It was part of my life. I spent my weekends on the bus and on the tram, moving around Manchester in England, buying vinyl from all the record shops. I had my little route sorted out and I would be there when the distribution vans turned up. I know all about DJing on vinyl. And I started Digital DJ Tips when we saw this change to digital DJing, and that's how the website grew and that's what we do. But guess what? Vinyl hasn't gone away. Vinyl hasn't died. It's still here. And so today I want to talk about all the ways modern DJs, digital DJs who play with digital music still use vinyl. And I mean real vinyl. It is made from the same stuff. It's got grooves in it. You touch it, you scratch with it, you play with it. It's motorized, it's going round, it's spinning. It feels just like the real thing. So I've got loads and loads of vinyl, stop that one spinning, loads of vinyl solutions here that I'm going to talk you through. By the end of this, you'll see 6 different ways that you can DJ with a spinning platter with real vinyl on it in 2022, and you'll understand a little bit more about why DJs still do this, at least why some DJs still do this. Now, this is a live show from Digital DJ Tips, the world's leading online DJ school. And so if you want to ask questions, then you're free to do so. We're on YouTube, Twitch and Facebook. Facebook is the best place to ask questions because we can get to you afterwards. If we don't answer your question live, my team can get to you in the week between now and the next one of these and answer you there, which doesn't work on the other platforms. So if you want to ask a question and be sure to get it answered, get over to the Digital DJ Tips Facebook page. But hello to our Twitch and YouTube people as well. So let's get started then. The topic is all about these things that I've set up here. Digital DJing done with real motorized devices, whether it's a turntable, a motorized deck, or motorized controllers, or motorized standalone DJ gear. We'll look at that too. And what, why, how. So really, there are 2 ways that DJs can DJ in 2022 using real vinyl. Now, it's not like the records I showed you at the beginning. It's not like a record with music recorded on it that you would put a needle in and play like normal. But apart from that, everything about it feels just like using real vinyl. But why? Why bother? You know, most DJs nowadays use, if you're a beginner DJ or just a hobby DJ, you've probably got a controller like this. The platters spin round, but they don't need to spin round in order for the music to play, because you hit the play button, it starts playing, you hit it again, it stops. And then you use this for scratching and manipulating and so on. There's no motor in there turning that round. So why? Why bother at all DJing with vinyl? And of course, if you're a pro DJ, then you probably use Pioneer DJ CDJ 3000s in the Pro DJ booth, or the earlier versions of it. Again, this is expensive gear. It's several thousand to buy this. It's got a platter that doesn't spin around when you turn it on. Only spins around when you spin it for effect, or for scratching, or for beat mixing. So why bother with vinyl at all? Well, there's a couple of reasons. Firstly, it feels good. I mean, for someone who's brought up on DJing with vinyl, this just feels so right. It feels so normal. Doesn't matter what size the platter is, it still feels great. But also, it looks good. And let's not forget that DJing can be a visual thing, whether it's because you just like the look and feel of it yourself, or because you're DJing, say you're a high-end wedding DJ, and you want to have 2 decks and to be able to be seen to be doing it like someone paying big money would expect a DJ to look like. Whatever the reason, there are DJs out there who prefer to DJ this way. And of course, if you're a turntablist, if you're a scratch DJ, you're a hip-hop DJ, it is something that probably you don't want to deviate from, even though, look, digital DJing lets us do it on our phones, right? We don't even need equipment. We can do the whole thing on our phone. I hope you're seeing that sometimes that's not the point, and sometimes it's just the look and feel of the gear and the way we do it that's just as important as what we do. Right, okay, so how's it done? Now we know why people might want to do it. How's it done? Well, the 2 main ways are using existing equipment and changing that equipment so that you can use it, instead of playing records, to play digital files. So here I have a turntable tucked away in the corner here. This is a old-fashioned Technics turntable, just off camera, but I can bring it on camera. Look, there's the tone arm. You hit play and you put this down on a record and you play. But were this plugged into a sound system, you would hear that what we're listening to now is not music, because this record is no normal record. This record is a piece of control vinyl. See, it's got Serato written on it, and this has got computer code recorded on it. Now, this computer code, when it is played from the turntable into a compatible mixer, and most modern DJ mixers, digital DJ mixes, are compatible with the way this works, that computer code is then fed through a normal USB lead into your DJ laptop running Serato, and Serato understands, or any DJ software, this happens to be Serato I'm demoing with here, your laptop's DJ software understands that when you manipulate the turntable, it is to manipulate the waveform, and therefore you can use the turntable to control the software. The software then sends what you've done to the mixer, and it feels like you're using a real record. And it can feel uncannily like that. Like, you can have it so that when you put the needle down at the beginning of the piece of control vinyl, it's at the beginning of the record. If you jog the record, it jogs. If you move the needle through the record, you're moving through. Or you can set it to the way most DJs set it up nowadays, where it's more like a big control surface. So it just triggers whether you're going forwards, realizes whether you're going forwards or back, and doesn't worry about the position in the file. That's up to you. And that means you can use your loops and your cue points and all that kind of thing. That's a different mode. But either way, you're using a real turntable with real vinyl. I mean, it is real vinyl. It's made of the same stuff. It feels the same. It comes in the same packaging. It's just that it's got a computer code recorded on it instead of real music. And that is how the software is controlled. It's called DVS, or digital vinyl. Now, another way of doing that, same turntables, same software, same everything, but without the need to actually put the tone arm onto the record, is to use something which is called phase. This is phase, this little box I've got here. So phase is a system which has got two halves. This half is the receiver, and these little dominoes are the transmitters. So one of these dominoes goes onto, or pucks, goes onto there. Now, this knows whether you're moving the platter left or right, and whether it's going clockwise or anti-clockwise, and how fast it's going, and it sends that information to this. Now, this has got the old-fashioned USB plug to go off to your computer, and audio plugs where you use the audio leads that come with this phase system to plug into the back of your mixer. And sometimes you don't even have to use these. Like with Serato, it's even easier to set up. But the point is that the transmitters send the information that this is being moved and this is moving to this unit, and that sends it to the computer, which sends it all to the mixer. And so that way you don't have to worry about needles jogging and about having to put a needle on a record, or even to remember to bring records and stuff. You can just plonk it on the turntable and you can DJ away in the way that you have always done. Wirelessly, it's a really good system. It works with other software as well as Serato, but I've got it here with my Serato program. So in a way, it's wireless DVS. It's called phase. And it's a great solution because you don't have to carry around so much with you. It does need to be charged and all that, but it's just another way of adapting existing equipment to work so that you can DJ with real vinyl and control DJ software and digital files. So we're talking today about the 6 ways that DJs can use real vinyl, real spinning platters with motors in them and pieces of vinyl on the decks with digital music and digital files. That's the topic, and we are currently approaching the 3rd way that we do this. We've already covered the 2 ways that you could use an existing turntable. This is a Technics 1210, an existing turntable, obviously 2 of them, with a DJ mixer in order to DJ using vinyl but with digital files. So now let's move on to talking about the ways you can do this where you need specialized gear, where instead of adapting something that already exists, you're going to use something that's been made especially for the job of being a DJ, with something with a motor in it that spins, that's got vinyl on it that you can manipulate, but it controls digital music. So the first one of these systems I want to talk to you about is this one here. You can, due to our cameras, you can only see kind of like 3/4 of it, but you get the idea. This is a deck In fact, let me pick it up. In fact, I can't, I know, because it's wired in. I will probably end up dropping it on the floor. But anyway, I'll see if I can zoom the camera out a bit more to show you a bit more of it. There we go, look. So this is just like the Technics turntable, right? Same size, same 12-inch vinyl on it. The vinyl actually comes off. And you should put a real slip mat under there. I haven't got the slip mat on for some reason, but you should. And this then therefore feels and looks like using real vinyl, but there's no tone arm on it like on this one. Why? Because it's a completely digital control deck. Now this one's designed for Serato. It can work with Virtual DJ and other software, but this is designed specifically for Serato, and it allows you to basically manipulate in a way which feels very, very similar to using a normal turntable, because it's the same size platter, same kind of buttons on it, but you can do things like skipping around in the track and all this kind of stuff as well. So there's some extra functions and features on here which are different to what you get on a turntable and give you more control. So a pair of these and a mixer is the closest you get to two turntables and a mixer without actually using real turntables. They're called the Rain 12s. This is the Rain 12 Mark II, and that is the kind of preferred high-end way of doing this, using these to control your software. So what if we were to take like the equivalent of two of these and a DJ mixer and put it in one box? Well, Rain has already done that, and that's what this one here is. This is the next way of doing it, which is called the Rain 1, and it's basically a DJ controller. It's very similar to the kind of DJ controller I showed you a second ago. Here's a DJ controller. This is a cheap DJ controller, beginner one, which is just a piece of plastic with some plastic fixed, they call them fixed platters even though they spin, because when you press play nothing happens. It just tells the computer to start playing the music. So this is quite similar to that, a lot more expensive, a lot more high end, but quite similar. So you've got in one box, two decks, some control pads and stuff, some effects, a mixer, and it plugs into your DJ software, and you control the DJ software via the USB cable between this unit and the software. And then you plug your audio into this unit, your headphones and your speakers, and you can DJ like you can with any DJ controller. But the big difference, this one spins round. These decks are little 7-inch decks, but they feel and look just like using a real DJ turntable. This is real vinyl, and this is a real slip mat. Pretty cute, right? But it is still slip mats, vinyl, and a record deck that spins around with a high torque motor underneath it. So therefore it feels very, very similar, like uncannily similar to using a standard DJ system. Which is really cool in a controller, because of course in a controller you've got the portability, and it's a lot cheaper than buying two Rain 12s and a mixer, but yet you're still getting the same feel of DJing with Platters. The next way is the Pioneer Ddj Rev7. Now this is kind of like this one, but it builds on it slightly. So this is a little bit bigger, it's got the scratch layout on it, so it's got, instead of having the pitch controls down the side, has them at the top as a scratch DJ would have them. Zoom out a bit more so you can see that. Actually, I can't zoom out anymore, but anyway, pitch faders, you just at the top of your picture there. So slightly different in layout, but the same thing. It's actually a Serato controller again, not a record box controller, even though it's made by Pioneer. And this has got slightly different platters. So these are still vinyl, these are still motorized, they still spin around, still really nice to use, but they've got a screen in the middle. So now we're starting to get a kind of hybrid controller, because unlike this and this and this, where they're just pieces of vinyl with a spindle up the middle, this one has got rid of the spindle by the design that Pioneer has used here. And so that allows them to put a screen in the middle which can give you information about your track. It can show you your marker as to where you are if you're scratching. It can also show you time elapsed and loop information and all that stuff. So if you like the idea of having a screen in your jog wheel but you want a spinning platter, this might be one to look at. Again, real vinyl, it removes, and so you can customize it if you want. And it's got a real kind of slip mat underneath, but this time it's a slip ring. These are like little plastic rings that allow you to do that. But basically we're looking at the same thing there. I'm not going to try and put that back in live on camera. I'll just rest that there fashionably and sort that out later. So that is the next way of DJing with real vinyl, but using digital files, the Pioneer Ddj Rev7. Now, some of you may have noticed something that all 5 ways we've talked about, DVS, wireless DVS or phase, the Rain 12, the Rain 1, and the Pioneer Ddj Rev7 all have in common. They all require you to use DJ software. They all require you to take a laptop with you into the DJ booth. Now, if you are someone who was brought up on using real vinyl for DJing and just turning up with a box of records and DJing, you might be vehemently against the whole idea of having to take a laptop just to use real vinyl. You know, don't want to do it. Now, as we know, in pro DJ booths the world over, you find Pioneer DJ media players like this, a couple of these in a mixer, and that is what you use. So if you're a DJ that's used to working that way, you're probably not worried by the whole laptop thing because they've been there for decades now. And it's just been a very steady evolution. You went from carrying a box of records to carrying a wallet of CDs to carrying a USB drive, but everything else stayed the same more or less. How about a way of doing that in the modern DJ booth? Well, there is. No computer, just turning up with a USB drive with your music on, plugging in and playing. Just like on the Pioneers, but with a motorized platter. And the only way that that's available to DJs nowadays is using this. It's the Denon DJ SC6000 Prime. And the SC6000 Prime has got a motorized platter. This is motorized. This is real vinyl. This is a real slip mat. But this unit doesn't need you to plug into DJ software. It can, but it doesn't need you to. Instead, when you hit play on this, and obviously I haven't got it plugged in, when you hit play on this, this will spin and it feels just like using vinyl on all the systems that we've looked at. But this gorgeous big screen here gives you your library and your waveforms and stuff like that. And so there's no need for you with a pair of these and a DJ mixer to need to go near a laptop. So that's our 6th and final way that DJs now can use digital music and modern music files and DJ equipment to spin with real vinyl without actually needing to fall back on fixed platters and the modern way of doing it, with still maintaining motors in the gear and so on. So to end off, I want to talk about something that is probably on your mind if you're someone who's not done this or has been thinking about this. Do you need it? Do you really need it? Now look, you're talking to someone here who's come from vinyl. I love vinyl, I love records, I love the whole thing. No, you really, really don't. I mean, most modern DJ booths have fixed platter. In other words, they don't spin when you hit play. DJ systems, the Pioneer DJ CDJs, they've not had spinning platters for many, many years. So no, you absolutely don't need to have vinyl. But it is fun. So it's something that if you just want to DJ for fun and you've always done it that way, it could be that you choose to go for it. It looks good. It could be if you're a hip hop DJ or a scratch DJ, it just makes sense for you to do that. But otherwise, you're paying a lot of money for equipment which has just got stuff in you don't need, which is obviously more likely to break down. There are 2 high torque, expensive motors in these units here. Most DJ controllers have just got a couple of little spindles coming through controlling a very small, simple piece of equipment underneath, and then it's all circuit boards. So there's less to go wrong. It's cheaper and lighter if you don't want spinning platters. And you don't gain anything by having spinning platters. Modern DJ software doesn't need you to spin the platter around in order to control it. It knows whether you've hit play or pause without anything physically spinning. So it really is just feel. Feel is the only reason to do this. There's no need at all for it to happen for modern DJ software to work. And finally, of course, even though this is a presentation from Digital DJ Tips and we're a digital DJ school, if you want to use decks, you could just collect and use vinyl. Now vinyl's very expensive nowadays. Not everything, probably most music isn't released on vinyl anymore. But for certain kinds of DJs, if you are a retro DJ, if there's a certain scene, you could be a Northern Soul DJ or an early house DJ, and that's what you do. You just want to play a couple of gigs a year playing those old records. Why not use the old equipment? Why not use the stuff that would have been used back then? It's great fun. There's a whole movement in studio production, of course. If you want to make a record that sounds like the 70s or 80s or 90s, use the equipment they use or emulations of the equipment they use because it's more realistic. So why not? I'm not here to tell you you shouldn't. But for most people who want to dabble with vinyl, that is not something which is practical, in which case you're going to want to look at one of these systems. And just very quickly again, what they were was DVS with controlled timecode vinyl to control DJ software on a real turntable. Wireless DVS, that doesn't need you to use the tone arm and communicates with wireless technology with your software. They were then onto the specialized gear, the Rain 12 control decks, the Rain 1 and the Ddj Rev7 DJ controllers. And finally, we closed off with having a look at this one, the Denon DJ SC6000M, which is a motorized version, if you like, of a pro media player to play in the DJ booth without needing software at all. Always, the DJs nowadays use vinyl in 2022 to play with digital files. Right. Presentation over, people, but that is not the end of the show, and if you're a regular you'll know why, because now we're going to go over to you and going to spend our final few minutes together answering your questions about this. Remember, Facebook is the best place to go to do that. Just a few rules about the questions because we're very busy. Keep calm. I don't want any drama. Ask your question once and I will get to you if I can. If not, my team will get to you on Facebook afterwards. That's why Facebook's the best place. If I see a question asked more than once, I will ignore it. Right, okay, let's do it. Over to the comment cam, which some of you will know. That's the place where all this goodness happens. So welcome everyone. My friends over on Digital DJ Tips Moderation will be dealing with the jokers in the chat who are posting the usual dirge that you see spammers doing. So over to you on that one, people. Right, so just a few early hellos to people. Hello to Robert, who says, I'm a bit late, but hello anyway. It doesn't matter, Robert, there's no timings here. Good to have you here, my friend. So the Rocker says, I keep it pure. I play house pop and contemporary hip hop and R&B on controllers, but my classic hip hop will always be played on my Technics 1200s, and quite right too, the Rockers. Exactly what I was saying, wasn't it? So someone over on our Facebook group says, I've been thinking about getting Phase. So it's very, very good. We've got a kind of new review of Phase coming up soon because they've improved it a lot recently. DJ Anne DuPont says, even I practice vinyls. The only old way I still like sometimes is CDs for a more intense feeling than computers. So thank you to my team saying the spam bots are under control. I love my team at Digital DJ Tips. Couldn't do it without them. So thank you, Lauren, for that. Osbert says, oh no, DJ Jimmy Vu says, hello from Vancouver. Love your videos. Osbert says, I love being able to see the color graduation on the record and know how far it is from the drop. How long the breakdown will be, etc. This is something that I was actually talking about to people earlier on today in a lesson that I was hosting. Let me show you this. If you're new to vinyl, this is a piece of DJ vinyl. So look at the grooves there. And see, I'm trying to get the house lights on there so you can see them. So if you look where my finger is, I just kind of get that. Now this side here. There we go. I was wondering why you couldn't see that. Right, look where my finger is now. There. That is a breakdown. See the way the grooves are changing? And if you're DJing on vinyl and your needle is moving slowly along the record like this, you can tell as it gets nearer and nearer that breakdown how long it's going to be. And over time, you get really good at judging that. And that was our waveforms. That was our equivalent of waveforms, which is actually why, for those of you that some of you might have wondered in the past, why on DJ equipment, on specialized DJ equipment, turntables and so on, you sometimes have this. I'm just trying to zoom in on it so you can see and get the focus right. There we go. This little thing here, this is a light. And the idea of the light is that it shines across the vinyl so that in a dark DJ booth, you can look down, you get down to vinyl level and look at your record and see how far it is to the next breakdown. And that was the best we had back in the day. That was the way we did it when we wanted to see how long it was to the next break. So thank you for sharing that with me, reminding me about that. Excellent. Right, hello to the Marmite Apple and Charlie and Wood Sound and Positive T916. DJ Jimmy Vu says, don't be afraid to embrace new technology. No, totally agree with you there. It's not something that we would ever discourage people to do, but the old ways are never going to go away. And if you find a way that works for you, that combines the two, then good on you. This is from Oz Diaz, who says, I'm just waiting for Rain or Pioneer to build a controller with moving platters, but standalone controller. Now I'd buy that in a heartbeat. And this is something that everyone's talking about. Something that looks like these here, the two on the left-hand side of your picture there. But that doesn't need to plug into a laptop, and therefore you just plug a USB in and you go. And you're right, I think one of them will come. It's inevitable that one of them comes soon enough. And when it does come, I think it's going to sell by the bucket load. So let's keep our eyes and ears peeled for that. We'll obviously let you know as soon as we hear anything about that. You Don't Like My Music says, I don't understand how dance music DJs can be anti-laptop. Don't people know that's the way this music is made? I know dance music has got a very strange conservatism built into it. Like people are really innovative until they find their way of doing it, and then they defend their way of doing it forever, which I've always found strange as well. Right, so let's now go back to what you guys and girls are saying. DJ Stu C, my main issue with laptops is when people have to prat about wiring them up while another DJ is trying to do their set. And this is from someone who mixes on a laptop at home. It is indeed one of the bugbears of laptop use, I agree. Martin says, I have a pair of SC6000Ms, lovely pieces of kit. Hello to Pavel in Lithuania. So I use the SL3. Now this is an interesting thing, actually. Let's talk about this. And I use the DDJ SX2 and Zone 43C, and all is good, says DJ Stu C. So what I told you earlier was that when you want to DJ on DVS with vinyl, with control vinyl to control software, you use a mixer which allows you to do that. And that is generally how people do it nowadays, but it wasn't always the way it was done. It was sometimes done in the past using audio interfaces. Now I've got one here that I can show you. This is one of the more modern audio interfaces. This is the Denon DJ DS1, and the idea of this is that it could work with any mixer. So I could use this with literally my, like my old Technics mixer from the 1990s easily. So the idea is you plug your computer and your decks into this, and then you wire this into the mixer, and that way you can rig up any DJ gear, any old pair of turntables, or indeed CD players, or any old mixer with just this little box and a few wires to work with computers. They seem to have gone out of fashion now. They're quite hard to get nowadays, these audio interfaces, because most mixers nowadays have that technology built in anyway. It's like this is now built into it, so why bother? Interestingly, back in the day, DJ controllers themselves didn't tend to have audio interfaces built into them at all. You had to have a separate audio interface. Quickly they were built in, and now mixers tend to have an audio interface built in as well, so there's no need for a separate box to do that. But yeah, good point. Those things do still exist. They're still out there, and if you've got one, they still work. So this is from David. I always rise to this, I really shouldn't. Vinyl is better. Real DJs use vinyl. Anyone can use sync. Thank you for that, David. Times have moved on, my friend. It's just like driving a car, says the Marmite Apple. Learn on the manual stick shift. If you later decide to change, go automatic. It's true, there's nothing, I encourage any DJ to learn manual beat mixing, and I encourage any DJ to learn how to use a turntable that's motorized, because it's fun. Why wouldn't you want to do it? Why wouldn't you want to be someone who does that stuff? It's just part of what we do as DJs, so why not be curious and learn? Right, so Christian says, I wouldn't want to carry vinyl boxes everywhere to get stolen. All DJs have got stories. A lot of DJs from back in the day have got stories about exactly that, or putting them on a plane and they never come off the other end. It is indeed an occupational hazard for vinyl DJs. This is from You Don't Like My Music, says, I went to college for audio engineering back before laptops took over. I'd never go back to analog. I suppose if I recorded a rock band I might, but that's it. This is a good question from DJ Patman. Are motorized or moving platters better for scratching? They are more authentic feeling, but they are not in any real way better. In other words, I mean, we work with DJ Jazzy Jeff. I've seen him do the most intricate routines on very cheap DJ controllers whose platters don't spin. We have a whole course called Scratching for Controller DJs that teaches you to DJ on all kinds of stuff, including cheap controllers. So you certainly don't need to not DJ, not try scratching just because you haven't got a motorized controller. That'd be silly. You know, nowadays you can do everything on standard little controllers with no motors. Vinyl is just an investment when I need to save and collect. It's certainly a very expensive thing to do, collecting vinyl. I agree completely. Lionel has a set of SC6000Ms and a battle mixer, which seems like the best of everything. Thank you, Keezy. I'm glad you're learning a lot from this page. Benedict still DJs on vinyl as well as digital, as do I, Benedict. A lot of you arguing about whether DJs are going to be put out of a job by new technology. The Kindle didn't kill the book, says DB82. I certainly come down on your side, DB82. There's always room for talent at the top in any industry, whatever equipment is about. William loves his Pioneer Ddj Rev7, and that was one of the controllers we were showing you earlier that's set up for scratching but hasn't got motorized platters, so you don't have to use motorized stuff if you don't want to. Is there a way to avoid BPM fluctuations when using DVS with Serato? It tends to really mess up if I'm doing a longer transition. It's just the way it works, and you can't, because Serato is looking out for the speed of the DJ deck that you're using, whether it's a real deck or a control deck, to tell it how fast everything's going around. So the only way to avoid that is to use a fixed platter controller. I love vinyl, says DJ Lisa Love, but I still use my controller for practical use when I'm DJing a gig, but I still have my 4 1200s. I wish I'd owned 4 1200s. I only ever had 2, so you're 2 ahead of me there, Lisa. Thank you very much for that. Dave C. Rocker says, you've got the only ever 1210 where the light still works. I showed you earlier the light. You'll laugh, Dave, because my other one, the light doesn't work. Source Compile Studio says, after 25 years I've decided to go back to playing with vinyl. I picked up a pair of 1200s and a friend gave me a huge stack of 90s drum and bass. I'm having a blast. So cool. Lots of you seem to be enjoying DJing on vinyl. Just finished recording 5 or more of my old school vinyl tunes from the 90s. I'll be uploading to my channel. It's good to hear that, Marmite Apple. Mixmaster G says, the light is used to determine if the speed of the platter is constant. It's the strobe on the dots on the side of the platter. So let's talk about that for a second. I don't think I can get my camera too close to the deck there to really show you exactly how this works. But yes, there are 2 types of light on a record deck. So I will do my best. So on this record deck here, there are indeed 2 types of light. This one here, the pop-up one, is the one that we can use to look at the vinyl itself and decide whether the track, the needle is getting near to a breakdown or near to the end of the track or whatever. This one here, the light that's built into the on-off switch, it shines onto these dots, and the dots tell you how, and you probably can see this if you're looking on a big screen, how close to certain speeds the platter is. So at the moment, the platter is set to 0 on the slightly out of camera pitch control that my hand is on here. And this middle set of dots, the biggest set of dots, are still, they're not moving left or right. If I slow it down a bit, the dots start to move slowly to the right, tell me it's a bit slower. And the other sets of dots kick in at 3.3% faster and 6% faster, I think, and 3.3 and 6% slower. So that's what the dots are for, the strobe dots. Another little bit of information for you there, if you've ever wondered what the dots are for on the side of any deck. That's why they have them. Loads and loads of people reminiscing in the chat. It's so cool. So Dennis says, I thought that little light was supposed to mesmerize me, illuminating the edge of the platter. Well, it does mesmerize, but that's why. It's a bit like watching a campfire, isn't it? Watching the strobes go around. Lots and lots of people debating digital versus analog. That's not what we're here for. Hopefully I've just shown you today that you can take the bits you like from one and apply them to the other, and there's lots of other ways you can do that, of course. Where technology and music meet is where all the fun is, in my view. Hello Jay, says, I love the feel of vinyl and the attention it commands to keep a mix going. If you can mix on turntables, you can mix on anything, an essential foundation skill. And I agree with you, Jay. It introduces a friction, or is the word I'm looking for, a friction. It introduces a danger. There's always more chance something will go wrong with vinyl than if you're using synced up digital files on a controller. And that's very, very true. A bit like, you know, same here, we're on a live show. There's a bit more danger. I could record this video and edit it and put it out. And it's much more fun to do it live because, well, there's more fun interacting with the audience, of course, with you guys and girls, but also for you, there's a chance something will go wrong, right? And for me. So that friction, quite like it. Same with DJing in vinyl. Thank you very much for that, Jay. And I do hope you're well, my friend. So I started DJing on vinyl, says home PC, but things move on. Embrace the future. We're still not driving around in Ford Anglias. There is a throwback for, I think Ford Anglias were only a UK car, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, people in other areas. Let's grab one or two more comments then, and I'm gonna get out of here for today. I really hope you've enjoyed this. Do give us some likes, loves, follows, thumbs up, subscribes. You know what to do if you've enjoyed this today. Actually, if you're new to this and you are new to Digital DJ Tips, there is one thing that you can do which is gonna help you massively, and that is go to that URL that I've put on the screen there now. That URL will give you our latest newsletter every week. I'll put it back up there. Oh, whoops, the wrong one. I'll put it up there again for you in a second. There we go. Where's my button gone? Too many buttons, people. That URL will get you our latest newsletter. It comes out every week, but it's full of free tutorials, free lessons, reviews, news, DJ features, etc. You also get a gear guide. You also get a copy of the book. It's all free. You become a member of Digital DJ Tips one more time by going to digitaldjtips.com/join. I've got to find a more slick way of doing that than leaning out of camera to press a button. Anyway, in my head, coming out, live shows, that's what happens. One or two more questions before we go then. So Pericles says, I started scratching on a DDJ 400 and it just made me want to go to vinyl even more. It's not even close to being dead. Vinyl is not even close to being dead, so thank you for sharing that. Digging for records is the heart of being a DJ, vinyl or not, says Pericles, following that up. And I agree completely. The fun you can have searching for music digitally is the same fun you have searching for vinyl. Yes, it's the mechanics of it are different, but it's the same feeling when you find a track you want, etc., etc. So Craig says, hi Phil and all, catching you late today. I think if you use vinyl, then you can stick to the fundamentals of DJing. I feel too much trickery happening on other gear where DJ basics are being forgotten. One argument is, the good thing about vinyl is you can see what the DJ is doing. And a lot of DJs try and keep it very visual. Like James Hype is a good example. He doesn't use vinyl, he uses CDJs and he uses USB drives and so on. But with James, you can see what he's doing. He's very clear, he's a physical DJ. And I think you're right. I think a lot of DJing is about the crowd understanding what you're doing, because there, within that dynamic, is the transmission of energy from you to the dance floor, which is what DJing is about. You don't want someone standing there pushing buttons. Good point. I love the smell of vinyl in the morning, says DJ Ginormous. This is from Ali. It says, I'd love to get into vinyl, digital vinyl and turntables. Since budget is a concern, do you think starting with one table is a good idea? How does that work? Thanks, Phil. I have the DJM 900 mixer to start. Yeah, I mean, you could buy one turntable, you could plug it in if you've got two other ways of spinning music, but I think you really need two turntables to learn manual beat mixing, and I'd go for two turntables, but just save a little bit more money and get them together. Because if you get one, it's like, I don't know, it's like buying a suit in two halves, right? You buy the trousers and you wait to buy the jacket. By the time you get the jacket, the trousers are a bit old. You're just never going to feel right. Get two new turntables, unwrap them in the same hour, and then love them and adore them forever. That would be my advice. All right, we're going to go now, people. Thank you very much for joining us. This has been a Digital DJ Tips show here on the Digital DJ Tips Network. We've been talking about 6 ways that DJs nowadays DJ with digital music, but using real vinyl. And we've talked about adapting record players. We've talked about digital decks that plug into mixers. We've talked about DJ controllers, and we've even talked about standalone DJ gear that's designed for you to plug in without even using a computer to therefore have digital music files manipulated via USB, but using a real Motorized platter. Lots of ways of doing it. If you've just caught the show late, you can watch the replay on Facebook and YouTube. And one more time, if you're new to Digital DJ Tips and you want to get involved, join. You get a free copy of our book and our gear guide and our newsletter that helps you improve as a DJ. I'll be back on Thursday with our Any Questions slot with no agenda. We'll just take it where you guys and girls want to go. And I'll be back next Tuesday for another Tuesday Tips Live. Keep an eye open for the launch of DJ Jazzy Jeff's improved How to DJ Right course. We made a course with him earlier this year. It was the biggest course we've ever made. We've now improved it. We've now added hours of new material to it. Jeff has talked through the hour-long mix he made for the original course, Mix Transition by Mix Transition, a director's cut where he literally talks through the thinking behind every single mix in an hour-long DJ set that he's made exclusively for the course. It's worth its weight in gold, just that bit. But also, when we were making the DJ Jazzy Jeff course, we let the cameras roll in the studio from the minute we got there to the minute we walked out for days and days and days. Now that is a big course and there's hours and hours of lessons in there, but the majority of the time we weren't recording lessons. We were just kicking around in the studio, planning the next thing, chatting, catching up, talking about old times. Jeff was sharing wisdom and we had the cameras rolling. Now I've spent many weeks recently going through all that footage and getting all the stuff out from between the lessons. All the little nuggets, all the questions, all the reminiscences, all the colour really that fills in Jeff's personality and Jeff's career, and all those tips that didn't make it into the lessons. There was so much there that we've made a whole new module in that course. We've called it Jazzy Jeff Uncut, and it is being added right now as I speak. So when that course goes live again in a couple of weeks with a special offer, you'll be able to get all that new material. And if you're a current owner of the course, you're going to get that material for free. Of course you are. We're just going to slot it into your course and it will become available to you. So very exciting. Watch out for the relaunch of the Jazzy Jeff course. Another reason to be a member, because only by being a member will you hear about that relaunch and will you hear about the very big member discount that we offer whenever we launch our courses. Right, that's it for me today. Get good, get out there, make the moments, and I'll see you on another live stream very soon. Till then, bye-bye.